Hey guys, welcome to Mind Snacks. I am sending this out in my DM groups and sharing it. And hey, Sal, thanks for coming in early. I just wanted to give people a few minutes to get in here. Please repost the space. Super important. We have incredible researchers here to share their work, and so we're going to go through. Oh, I meant to put the your post inside of the purple pill and the nest. I'm going to do that too. But how are you doing, Sal?
Good. Thank you for hosting this space and thank you for letting me speak. How are you?
I am doing great. Thanks for asking. I did take some time to look into what you shared, and I'm excited to talk about it. I think it is kind of heavy, but the most important thing is to really understand the plan. And I think what you've done is you have gone through and found all of the research, the science papers, and then just kind of mapping them on the agenda, right? And showing how what seems to be impossible and crazy and ludicrous is actually going to be carried out, right? And so,
Exactly.
yeah, and I think it would probably, when we get started, it would probably be best to kind of talk about it as like the large, like goal, and then kind of zooming into the process that you were talking about, and how they plan to achieve this. But we have a few minutes, so we'll just let some people come in. Let me send this to my co-hosts. But guys, repost the space. We'll get started in just a minute.
I'll start posting some information in the purple pill now so that, as we talk or as I talk, people can check out the papers.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm waiting for Rance and Destiny. I know this is up her alley to come, and let me send it to AJ real quick. And just for you guys, I apologize for not being able to do Mind Snacks as much this month because I am in the process of working on this selling a condo. And boy, let me tell you, okay, it has literally had me spent. But everything will get back to normal soon. I'm saying like 10 days is the max that I'm giving myself to finish this entire project. So by then we'll get back to normal. There's my girl. What up, AJ? How are you, honey?
How you doing?
Good. So just also as an FYI, I mean, this is going to be recorded, so this will definitely be something you still want to share, guys, and make sure that you have it on your timeline. We're going to get started here. Let's just give it like another few minutes. Do you know if Ryan's coming, Sal?
I will double check. Let me, I'm going to shoot him a text now.
Okay, cool. Hey, Big T, what's up, hun?
What's up, little lady? Uh, Real quick, you said you're selling a condo. Let me know if you need a realtor. I'll take care of it for you.
Man, I have the realtor. I just got to get it back in shape. I mean, it was, I'll just say, a nightmare tenant situation. I have grown a deep resentment for whoever invented duct tape, because I've spent a majority of my time trying to get this shit off of everything. But yeah, but I appreciate it. Thank you.
Is it a condo or is it a duplex?
It's a condo. It's a very it's a con. I mean, it's a beautiful condo. It's in a nice area. It's just needs a little bit of love.
TLC.
TLC, basically, yeah.
Yeah, that's normal. That's good.
But thank you for the offer.
Anytime.
All right, guys. So hopefully we'll get Destiny in here in a bit, but just to kind of give an overview of what we'll be talking about. It's what's really in the mRNA and what is it that they do and how does this fit into the larger agenda. So I'm sure many of you have heard already about the digital IDs and the beast system and potentially the path. Well, I should say their plan, not necessarily what's going to happen. Hopefully, because I personally didn't get vaccinated, and I do believe that there's people that haven't had any issues, but just understanding the mechanisms. This isn't really about like you know. Fear mongering, but just understanding the technology and the science that's going into what biodigital convergence is, and understanding the mechanism in which they're going to be able to achieve it. And so we have Sal here, who has done an incredible job of going and finding all of the primary sources, like the receipts, everything from the scientific journals and the technology aspect of it. And he's pieced all of this together in like these different, he'll go like on a very granular level down to the molecule. Okay. And he has all of this like with receipts, and he explains it all the way through. It's absolutely incredible. I am not like, no bullshit. It has taken me hours to get through just a single post of his with all of the links, because going through and trying to read it and understand it sometimes is a lot. So that's why I think the spaces help a lot, because he gets to explain it to people, and then we'll have an opportunity at the end to be able to ask any questions. And so I feel incredibly fortunate that he decided to come and share all of this information with you guys. And so, with that being said, where shall we start, Sal?
We'll start with their plan, right? So their plan was for full biological control of a human being, and not just their biology control, but their mind and soul, right? So free will. And it sounds, ludicrous when you say it out loud, but when you start to look at the neural interfaces and why people are posting about that, you start to understand that a long time ago, like not that long ago, probably early 2000s, they realized in order to fully control somebody 100%, to take away their free will, right? They would need to have the mind, body, and soul. So this everything that they've been planning is for that type, right? That trinity, if you will. Um, So they came up with a system called the human embedded system, right? The human embedded system is a mind, body, and soul as a quantum state. So this, you know, gets really in depth. So if you just look at the human embedded system, the fact that it's mind, body, and soul as a quantum state, it kind of gives you a good outline of exactly where they're going with this. There's a reason why Noah Harari says free will is over, right? Again, not fear mongering. Please don't ever give them fear. Don't be afraid. Knowledge and spreading knowledge can only make you smarter, right? And not afraid. This stuff has not been tested. They're going to test it now that 6G has been deployed. Um, that's what the pandemics are for. The pandemics are just are cover for when they're testing this out, right? So there will be obvious side effects, and they need to be able to make sure that they can kind of target people anywhere on the planet. They can, and they have entire workflows. It's insane when you look at the amount of workflows that they have hidden on Kubernetes. Like Kubernetes is a cloud that IBM uses. IBM's a huge player in this. Google Quantum Hybrid Cloud is the cloud they're going to try to attach your consciousness to, right?
And just
And
really quickly, so I can help people follow along, and I always do this to rant, so I hope you don't mind. But sometimes it takes like a little bit of kind of helping. I don't know, break it up into bite-sized pieces. So it's just in a way to help everybody understand, including myself. But first of all, I actually wanted to just kind of endorse and give you and lend you the credibility, because when I first went on this journey to learn about this, it was to prove it wrong. I'm like, there's no freaking way. This is some bullshit. Like, it's impossible. It's impossible, right? And what I found with white paper after white paper, and I mean the elaborate plan, just as it pertained to the biohybrid computing systems, and how, there was literally molecular engineering, token engineering. There was, they were trying to create what was a networked embodied subconscious, right? And this is something that I want you guys to look into and do your own research. But also I think that, I meant to put it in the nest. I'm about to put these in the nest. But just so you understand, the Internet of Things that you have right now, all of your devices are hooked into your own home network, right? Now, the Internet of Things works on a city level. This is like where they were talking about smart cities, and kind of like everything from your smart toasters to your smart fridges and your watches and whatever else that's, literally the word smart that's in it, is connecting into this Internet of Things. Now, this is also very well documented, the Internet of Bodies. And this is what hooks into all of the sensors that, either through inhaling or ingesting, or that's all in the environment, all of that you ends up absorbing, that's able to tell all of your human body activity data, is going to be networked into the Internet of Bodies. Okay. Now, where it got real crazy for me, and I actually created a diagram of this, is where they also have the Internet of Souls. So I just wanted you guys to understand that, like, when he's saying the mind, body, and soul, he's kind of like putting this together in which, in a way that, like, it just kind of shows that the only way that they would be able to network everything in and use all these sensors and move it into a much larger system, for them to be able to remotely access what they call the morphogenic field through humans. It's crazy. Okay, so do I have that correct? UC, I just wanted to kind of make sure I understood what you were saying.
yes, 100% yes. So you're absolutely correct. What's crazy is the only reason why I was able to find a lot of these connections is because I just did something simple. I changed the word device into human, and then I realized that they were adding people to the Internet of Things as devices. That's how they're able to do this in front of everybody without anybody knowing. If you want a good example, I want you to look up middleware and then human as middleware. And you're going to start to see that they are posting this stuff in public in front of everyone, and they're just changing the word from human to middleware. This is how they justify the network connection inside your body to the cloud. And it's important because, so a lot of people thought the vaccination was all about connecting people to the network, right? But it really wasn't. So Project Nano Domestic Quell was in 2010, I believe. And that was bacteria in our food and water, right? And they found a way to use bacteria as nano machines, if you will, right? Not only can they transport like payloads, but they can actually they have an entire communication system set up to use bacteria however they want. It's remarkable what their capabilities are. But when you go down that rabbit hole and you start to look into bacteria, you'll start to realize that the antimicrobial resistance surveillance is the same exact team of people that was at Event 201, right? The ones who planned the pandemic. And then you start to realize it was never really about antimicrobial resistance. I mean, if anything, they want to make sure that they kill off all the good bacteria and have the programmable bacteria only. And this is important because this programmable bacteria it's key to this entire system. Those shots that they pushed on everybody was never I mean, yes, they were going to deliver embedded quantum dots, which they hid inside of an encapsulated hydrogel, right? So the embedded quantum dots is like a MAC address, right? Like a machine access center. Like it's what identifies that specific computer connected to a network with 1,000 other computers. So if you look at it like that, you start to say, okay, so that's how they, they go to the network, then they target the individual computer that's on that network, right? So a person is the computer in this scenario. The quantum dot is the MAC address, right? And then the the network connection that they connected you with was graphene oxide and carbon nanotubes. So you'll start to realize that they are creating devices inside of people using carbon nanotubes, right? Nanowire edge devices, which is just a string, it's like a hair thin of graphene oxide, right? That they turned into an actual electronic device. How they're doing this is like this. If you've ever attached a wireless keyboard, right? You don't physically plug it in, right? It's an actual circuit board with its own buttons, right? You use a program or software, it downloads the driver onto your computer, and then you can use that. Or sometimes you actually have like this little USB thing that broadcasts and it connects it wirelessly that way. When you start to think about that concept, that's exactly how they're doing this. They're not actually building up like a physical processor inside of a person. I mean, they kind of are, but it's through virtualization and emulation. So it's the signal that they care about. So these, the graphene oxide generates a signal. That signal, right, gets interpreted through a network, and how it gets interpreted, it's hidden, right, through software-defined radios. A software-defined radio is the link between graphene oxide and the Golang, right, which is a Go programming language. So I know this is a lot, so I'm just going to keep it basic like that, okay, for now. If you guys go on my page, just please look at all of the research. I posted everything. And anybody who knows me will tell you, like, it's not only been verified, I mean, they're definitely doing it. And they're doing it because they know that that works. I mean, they've rooted these things as foundational, truths in their program. So it's like, if it doesn't work, then all of these other systems in a chain don't work. So that if I knew anything, I'd say that that has to work, because I can't imagine anyone spending all this time and money into designing a system that has to have that as a foundation and not even know it works. So the mRNA shot that they were telling people that they had to get, through the whole pandemic, that was just for the embedded quantum dots, the MAC address. So you'd have your own MAC address. And then it was for the mRNA sequences that they're going to use, right? This is the testing phase. Now that 6G is live, they want people to start producing bioluminescent antibodies, right? These are synthetic antibodies that have been fused with luciferase. Luciferase is an enzyme, right? Comes in a variety of different, flavors, if you will, like the one from the jellyfish, the one from the beetle, and the one from the firefly. Right, those are the three main ones. The reason why they need the bioluminescence, right, is because they're transferring information via light, and they're also powering the bacteria via light, right? And it all has to do with the brightness. So they can tune the brightness of those synthetic antibodies, right? As well as the bacteria receive that brightness, and based on the brightness, execute a certain series of like whatever instructions that brightness gave it to do, if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I was always wondering. I remember hearing about Luciferase back when, remember, AJ, this is back when we were doing these the spaces on COVID back in like 2021. And I remember specifically that there was an enzyme, and that the enzyme, this is the same thing that's inside of fireflies, guys. It's the same enzyme that's in that makes them glow. And it catalyzes a chemical reaction with a molecule that's actually called luciferin. And the light is like it ends up like lighting, and I'm not exactly I know that it's true luminescence. Sorry, there we go. There's a word. It's bioluminescence. And so they added this, and I was always wondering, like, why, like, I felt like back then I was just kind of in the waking up process, remember? And I was just like, why would they have luciferase in there? Like, it was quite interesting. But I do remember that this was like, and then when I did further research on what it was, it was something that they, use, like, they use it like to I guess whenever they're in research, it was considered a diagnostic tool. And so that's kind of what the way that they explain it in a lot of things. But I knew that there was something deeper that I just didn't have the bandwidth, I guess, or the research to really understand its role within the mRNA vaccine. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, okay, if it's a research tool, then why are they putting it inside of the vaccine? Right? It just didn't make sense. And so that was one of the things that I noticed about your post, and I was like, wow, I'm so glad that he's going to get into this and explain it. But so yeah, go ahead. And this is basically, this has something to do. So I know when we talk about nano technology, can you explain what its role is with the bacteria nanotech and how the digital ID is tied into this? And hi,
Yes,
Ryan, I see you down there. I sent you a mic.
this is the most important aspect of the system. So please understand this. Like, and if I have to like explain it further, I will. But this is, I can't stress enough how important this is. Right? There's a reason why they call it Luciferase. Right? There's a reason why they're going for your soul. Right? And all of this ties into that. The nanobots that nobody can find, right? Or that nobody has documented evidence on is because the bacteria are the nanobots, right? Um, so it's like this. That post I posted in the Purple Pill regarding the luciferase and the light signal, right? They are going to program the vaccinated specifically, right? This is why they pushed it. They're going to deliver a coding sequence, right? It's a certain length sequence that they deliver via bacteria, right? So the bacteria that's already inside of us, right? We probably have some of this programmable bacteria in all of us, right? Because they've been in food and water for the past since 2010. But they deliver the sequence using nanopore sequencing. Nanopore sequencing is important because they're going to send a remote command, right? Your body's going to pick it up. I have a funny feeling it's going to ping off your phone, but now that 6G is up, they don't even need the phone. So it gets its command and it automatically starts to produce synthetic antibodies. These synthetic antibodies are important because it's tied to your digital ID, right? If you ever wondered why Google, Apple, and Samsung have a vaccination verification and a certificate attached to your wallet, it's for this exact system, right? Because in this system, you cannot buy or sell. And they are dead serious about that. That's not like, that's literally what it's being set up as. And your authorization or your, the only way they'll know is if you're producing these luminescent antibodies, right? So if you look at FHIR, FHIR, right, it stands for Fast Healthcare Interoperability Resources. This is part of Inferno. The new system is literally called Inferno. If you ever needed to know anything about anything, just remember they call it Inferno for a reason. And this is why it's tied to digital ID. So the main digital ID platform, right, for the pandemics anyways, is going to be called DHI2. So when you have a chance, Google that DHI2. That is for pandemics, outbreaks, and stuff like that. It's at a local level, right? Because everyone is going to be attached to the system, their network, and they're going to use that. If you've seen any of my posts, you'll see I've been posting about that because that's an important aspect of it, right? So they don't call it digital ID because that obviously got too much, now people are aware of it.
Yeah,
They
it's in
don't
the
want,
public eye, and everybody's anti digital ID. Um, yeah, and you know what? Just so people know that, like mRNA, they are vaccines. Like they, but well, I hate to even use that word, but they have instructions in the form of messenger RNA, and they basically go into your cells to make a specific protein, what they call for COVID or whatever it was called, the spike protein, right? And so this is basically showing, and I remember that there was problems because it was creating so many of them for a much longer amount of time, and like it was an insane. They didn't. It's almost like they did, And I'm again, you guys are much more experts than I am, but now I remember listening to, like, God knows the most. It's crazy when you don't understand a subject and you're like listening to these very long webinars. I sat through webinars to really understand what the hell this thing was and why they were using it. There was like, it completely bypasses the mechanism. It was just so unnecessary. You know what I'm saying? In terms of what it's supposed to do. So there had to be some other element involved that they weren't sharing. This is kind of what came out of it. But I just wanted to say hi to Ryan and welcome him here. And Destiny has her hand up. She's also, if you guys didn't know, she's conducted so much research on this. This is her wheelhouse. So I'm gonna tap. I'm just want to say hi, Ryan. Welcome. You doing okay? And then I'm gonna tap in with Destiny.
Yeah, hey Maze, it's good to hear from you. I'm glad you're doing a space with Sal. That's excellent. That's awesome. You got Ranching here. He's really up to date on the computer networking stuff and all that. So that's awesome. Hi Destiny, it's good to see you. I just wanted to mention like all these coronaviruses, like the beta coronavirus subgroup, which is a subgroup of the coronavirus family. I've come to realize these are all engineered viruses through reverse genetic systems, right? And I'm to the point where it's kind of like SARS-CoV-2 is the next iteration. You had like the SARS-CoV, you had the MERS, the SIRS, you had all these other beta coronaviruses, and it's like these are literally created through bacteriophages, right? Where the bacteriophage actually infects the bacteria, and they're actually putting the spike proteins on the surface of the bacteriophage's capsid through the surface protein. I forget if it's the SOC or the HOC, SOOC or the HOC. It's one of the two, but basically it's called like the P3 protein, right? It's like P Roman numeral 111. So that protein allows the spike proteins to actually fuse to the surface, and then it actually makes it to where they created the if you look for the SARS-CoV-2, they created a universal bacteriophage T4 bacteriophage nanoparticle platform for SARS-CoV-2 vaccines. So the nanoparticle was the capsid that had the spike proteins on its surface. And I mean, it's literally in the documentation. I can put it in there. And also, these engineered viruses are created with CRISPR as well, and they're multiplexed to create multiple variants. And that's why you have 7 coronaviruses that infect humans. Well, I don't know how many variants there are for SARS-CoV-2, but I bet you there's close to 7 if you add them up. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that out there. And Sal, man, you got to stop doing that. FHIR is fire, bro, and FAIR is the fear. But I love you.
It's so funny.
thanks, man.
You guys remember the FEC, it was from the World Health Organization. They always like it, but if you pronounce it like fake, and it's crazy because they always do this with acronyms. But go ahead, Des, jump in, and thank you, Ryan. Go ahead, Des. What you got, hon?
Yeah, the Luciferase. I remember the first person that I heard that from that term. It was like, I don't know, March 2020, and it was from Dr. Carrie Madej. God bless her. She was one of the pioneers in this kind of direction of understanding, and she was literally the first doctor that was like, "Hey guys, this is for nanotechnology. This is of the devil. They literally call it Luciferase." She's like, "This is for your soul," because she's a Christian and she understands that the soul is the most important thing that we have here. And she was, sounding the alarm on that. And I thought it was very interesting that like a couple years later, she got into a nearly fatal plane accident with her fiance and ended up like breaking, I think she broke her entire leg in that, but she's fine. She's alive. She's alive, thank God. But she went pretty quiet after that, which has always bothered me and wondering if somebody was like trying to sabotage her and her message. But there is, for people who think it's kind of a weird idea, and I'm sure there's some people out there who think it's a weird idea, that the government would utilize something like vaccines to try and introduce a new technology. Like just look into the origins of AIDS and what they were trying to do when that happened. There's something. It's a recent discovery by a scientist out there. He's an academic scientist, somebody research scientist, called the therapeutic cover, where it covers a lot of exactly what this is, which is that there is a dual use. Okay, dual use is such a nefarious term, and I think it should be outright illegal. But there is such thing as dual use reasoning, right? Like not just dual use in science, where okay, we're gonna make these fake viruses out of other viruses, just so we can know if it changes down the line and its evolution, we'll know how to make the right. That's the narrative. That's what they say they're doing these gain of functions for, so we can get ahead of it, is what they're saying. But that same exact concept, so it has a dual use. They are making a weapon, but at the same time, they're also making a pathway towards a cure in the future. That's the dual use lie. However, you can use that for virtually anything, and I've come to find this very fascinating recently, that the government does this on virtually everything, and people are not even aware of this, but on literally everything you could think of, there's a dual use. Everything the government does is to get the most they can out of anything. They're like scavengers and so they exploit every possible point. And they've been able to use this therapeutic cover to essentially take public health money and even like critical health money, anything that's been put towards the sciences for medicine, and do testing that has a dual use for this electrobiosynthesis that they're working towards. And this is very well documented. The researcher who did this has shown multiple programs that were exploited to get a secondary outcome for the sole purpose of being the backbone of this biodigital convergence. And so, like, it's a reality. It's just not one that we are familiar with because they don't often tell us these intentions. It takes, smart critical thinkers to stumble upon them and disseminate them later. But it is an applied thing that they do. I think a lot of the reason we don't see it so much, and we're just now kind of starting to see it, is because a lot of the things they did dual use for were unsuccessful. Right? Like, look at, here's a great success story for dual use: Viagra. Everyone knows Viagra started off as a heart medication, but then it had a side effect, a very obvious side effect. And so that would be considered dual use science. That would discover the use of Viagra was dual use science. They discovered a secondary reason for it that actually became the primary reason in the end. And they do that with virtually everything in science. So if you think this sounds weird, don't. It's very common.
Wow. Yeah, I do see the dual use. They say the same thing with the military. Like, oh, this is dual use for civilian and military. That's 100% exactly what they do. Go ahead, Ryan. You guys feel free to just, chime in. It's because this is dedicated to you guys. I'll bring people up after if they want to ask questions, but this is, we could just talk.
It's all good. I want to let Sal get to it and lay it out because he's just a wizard when it comes to explaining the Luciferase. I just wanted to let you guys know that I had posted down in the purple pill the next generation Luciferase, which is actually a proximity-based Luciferase. It doesn't even have to be a dual fusion protein, and it's at 1,000 times more luminescent sequence when you apply. I have to look at the word. I can't pronounce it. It's like risasamine or something to the model, but it's like a substrate. It's called. Sorry, guys. It's called rapamycin. So it demonstrates by 1,000-fold luminescence increase upon rapamycin addition in a model system. But this is called Luxit S Pro, and I got a couple of them. And the Luxit Pro and the Luxit S Pro. It's the next generation design luciferases for bioluminescent reporting and complementation-based detection. So, they're actually trying to do a bioluminescence resonance energy transfer where they transfer, electrons from one protein to the other protein. And they record the signal, and then you're able to actually, I guess, capture, your resonance, right? And then the nuclear magnetic resonance is a big one as well to look into,
That's the
right?
most important. That's how they capture the image of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Bro,
the BRET, the bioluminescence resonance energy transfer. And this is
yep.
where two proteins interact. But yeah, go ahead, explain it, break it down. So
Yeah,
No, you get it. That's all.
you have Brett, right? Fret, and then a new one that involves time. That's the new one from a called biosignal, where they can transfer a timestamp using light. That's important for the soul pattern. Ryan, if you still have that post I posted, can you share that? Because I'm kind of driving right now.
I
But there's
put
one for
all of
that
your
soul pattern.
posts in the nest, the one that Ryan put in the purple pill and all of yours. And the audience, by the way, is like going crazy and helping out. They're posting all of the stuff that you guys are talking about. They're looking it up right now while you're talking. And so I appreciate it. I'm throwing that stuff in the nest as well.
You want me to post
Awesome. Thank you.
the biosignals or the soul patent, the recording the soul for immortality?
Um, the recording of the soul for digital immortality. The reason why is because that one gives everybody a good outline, because you'll see that one, there's a patent for it. They are definitely doing that exact concept. That patent shows as it's no longer active, but I want everyone to understand the reason why that one specifically is no longer active is because the 4 other ones that replace it, and there are 4 other ones, I promise you this, right, is because they evolved, right? So like Ryan posted that thing about the Lux he was talking about, that is a light, like it's so evolved. So what we're talking about now is a brief overview. The Lux is the step up, it's the upgrade, right? So no matter how anything happens, right, they need to add people to the light oxygen voltage domain. That is the most important part of this system, right? You cannot, well, they truly believe they cannot capture, right, consciousness, harvest the soul, and tokenize it without the light oxygen voltage domain, right? And that's important because in order.
So I'll explain that. That's just one of your proteins that's in all humans that they use to fuse other proteins to and create protein to protein interactions. And then they record that, and it gives off a signal. It does certain things in the cellular environment, and they record that in real time. But yeah, it's just your regular protein, but it's so important.
Yes, dude, you explained that very well. Like, thank you. Yeah, yeah. Like he said, honestly, that is the best way to sum that up in a nutshell. That's exactly what its job is to do, right? And the reason why that's important is because when they fuse that with your protein in your body, right, now you are bound to that nanotechnology. That's important. The whole synthetic proteins that they're using right now is just to get you bioluminescent for targeting, right? Because they're going to target you remotely. It's not just for digital ID, right? They want to be able to access your mind. They need to map your mind. They need to map your central nervous system. They're going to be doing this all remotely. And in order to do that, you need a live imaging system inside of a person, because they're going to be doing this remotely.
Yo, let me jump in.
Like,
Jump in real quick, Sal. You just made me think of something, bro. They're taking the love domain proteins, bro, and they're fusing bacteria to it because now they can use the bacteria to rewrite and reprogram your cells, bro, and rewrite them and send information to it. And the bacteria is gonna, you know, signal down your pathways, and it's gonna send an electrical signal, and it's gonna, you know, it's gonna do some do the heavy lifting.
So is that what
Yes,
the
I
MR?
mean,
Okay, is this outside of mRNA? I'm sorry, I just need to get clarification point because I know that the mRNA is something that they would be using to as a messenger, but I don't know if it goes. Does it go in the nucleus, or is that what's transferring it? Or there? I guess the bacteria that you're talking about that's programmable, is that related? Okay.
so the mRNA, right, was to get us to produce these synthetic antibodies, right? The reason why those synthetic antibodies are important is because the bioluminescence from those antibodies is what powers the bacteria. Now, the real weapon here, honestly, is the bacteria, because that, at the end of the day, is their nano machine. They can fully control bacteria remotely. I promise you this, right? That's the reason why the sequence they're injecting is using nanopore sequencing. I beg everyone to look this up, and like, it's very important. There's a reason why people were saying that they couldn't figure out the code, like why there was computational code involved. The computational code that's involved is the instructions they have to give to the bacteria, which they do through nanopore sequencing. So the mRNA is to power the nanotechnology, the bacteria, right, for later genetic modifications.
Yep.
So this is how everything ties together. You want to know how they're, going to be sending messages to the bacteria? It's through nanopore sequencing, but first they need to power it, and that's where the light comes in.
These are proteins. They're synthetic proteins, bacteria proteins. That they're, you know, the mRNA. It goes from mRNA to protein, not protein to mRNA. They reverse it in
Yeah,
biology, and it's a dogma in molecular biology, and they do it backwards, so you don't figure it out. But the mRNA is to create the proteins.
yes, and so the fused proteins that they're going to tether together is a green fluorescent protein, right, and the luciferase. This gives them the ability to have an entire display system of your internal system, of your entire biological system. So it's key, right? They need that in order to prep you for the light oxygen voltage domain. And when they add you to the light oxygen voltage domain, they use this thing called Spark 2. Spark 2 is the activation of a protein to protein interaction and a trigger from an external blue light, or the trigger of a Musean substrate. I definitely not pronouncing that correctly, but I definitely, Maisie probably posted it in there. It's very important because Spark 2 activation is what they're going to prep to do. Literally, once they find that they can power the grid, the infernal grid, they call it the infernal grid. I'm telling you, this is important because there's a reason why it's called Inferno. There's a reason why it's an infernal grid. When they take down the grid, the only grid that's going back up is the one that runs on people, right? That's important. That's how they plan on getting the consent, because they will not be successful unless you cognitively choose to be okay with this.
Right.
That is why I want people to know that doesn't matter if you were vaccinated or not. Like, it's not over, like, at all. So, like, please remember that you need to willingly subscribe to this, and they plan on doing that when they tear down the grid and only put up the infernal one.
This is interesting. So I do know that there was a time where they didn't have, let's just say, the smart dust, and they weren't able to mix this in with the wellness shakes. Like, it's in everything now, like all the little sensors and stuff like that, where they're at least getting the data. It's literally in everything, and this is all documented. I mean, that's easy to find, so that's not like a secret. And that's why a lot of people use things like active carbon and zeolite to detox themselves from with it, right? And so this is something that, is obviously being kind of injected in or input into your system in ways where you're willingly doing it because you don't really recognize these ingredients and that they're in there. But what is also really interesting is with the digital twin, which is what's gathering. Sorry, my son was saying something to me. I couldn't hear him. But where they're gathering essentially all of this data about you. And so and when I say that like algorithms are ways in which, your extended invitations to participate in, let's just say these boards, like this is, it kind of ties into my research is more of like how there's this architecture, um, built with protocol layers that's talking to the things in your environment, which is talking to you. Isn't that crazy? Like they call this, it's called biosemiotics, where your body, obviously, like it's not something we consciously think about, but there's things that will signal to your body and then your body will have a reaction as part of nature. It's coherence, right? It's coherence with nature. And so when you understand those systems, then what, the capability it provides is for them to be able to inject like a topical type of injection of information within there. And that's kind of what you're talking about is how what's in us will now begin to receive the information and to be coded in ways that would bypass your prefrontal cortex, the decision making. No need to even really make decisions because it's kind of guiding you through nature. It's crazy. It's crazy. This is
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Maze. I'm sorry to interrupt, but what you just said, I'm so glad you're recording this because that is so important. The topical is the key to the quantum soul. So a while ago, they needed to figure out a way how to take the soul. They realized they couldn't, it had to be freely given. Another method they were going to use was the basically to create. I'm going to have to post that, but it has to do with Ryan. I think you know exactly which one I'm talking about. It's the topographical memory, right, of a quantum state, which has to do with your memories at a certain specific place and time, right, Ryan?
Yeah, the topology, or are you talking about topology, or I don't think I don't remember which post that is, bro. Honestly, I don't think I.
I'm gonna post it right now, actually. So go ahead, Miss. You can finish. I'm gonna post
Hey,
it.
Maze, can I say something real quick about the algorithm that you were talking about? So, right, algorithm. Do you know what Algol is in mythology? It's the demon star, right? And supposedly stars hold information, right? So the algorithm, this demon star, is literally the star that's collecting all of your biometric information and storing it, right? The algorithm is collecting the biometrics, right? And that's creating the digital twin so they can actually monitor you in real time. I just kind of made that connection like on the fly. I was like, Algol. I remember someone mentioned something about that in mythology, and I looked it up and I was like, wait, that's the demon star. So yeah, that's kind of it's kind of wild how they just everything is so symbolic to them. I mean, even down to like the new metaverse that they're going to create, the extended omni metaverse or whatever. It goes by Roman numerals XV. And when you look, like I had a photo of like the devil, and like above him, literally he was sitting on a block, right, and with two people chained to it, and above him was the Roman numerals XV, and this is like an older photo. So I don't think it's by coincidence that they call their new extended reality metaverse, where it literally blends all realities, even the physical reality, with turning the physical environment, your biological environment, into digital bits, right? Like you're literally, yeah.
Yeah,
So like it's called XV, and think about the devil sitting on the cube, people chained to it. That's literally the blockchain. It's the blockchain. The first cryptographic cipher that came out from IBM was nicknamed Lucifer. That's not by coincidence. Go ahead, Sal.
yes, 100%, dude. Like, please post that picture, definitely. it's very important because so I posted that thing, right? About the consciousness and the topographical. I can't even believe I'm
Topological.
forgetting how to
There you
say this word. Thank you. Yes, that's how they're going to take it. They're going to use a quantum reversal to reverse your soul's energy. That part's important, right? Because they're going to direct it into the grid, right? That's the plan,
Oh
right?
shit! You just
So
damn. Oh my god. Go ahead. Continue. Continue. Sorry. You just sparked a memory about something.
there's a reason why quantum dots create sigil devices. These people are serious when they're talking about technomancy. I didn't think that was a real thing. I honestly thought it was a joke, but it's legit. It's real. Quantum dots that were delivered via vaccination, right, have the ability to create a sigil device. These sigils, right, are going to lead, they're going to be essentially a mark, right? It's going to be a mark for a person when they add them to this system. That they have four main sigils that I know that they're using, right? One of them is called Helios. He in mythological times was considered a divine witness. When you made an outcry to God, a declaration against him, right? You would have a divine witness there, right? So you'd call upon him using this thing called the Solomon Oath. I know this sounds crazy, like I know it does, but please, when you see this, you'll understand why they're doing these things. These things are for a ritual, some type of ritual that they're doing, right? That's why Inferno used the Hilbert philosophy of how to model hell, right? They want to put a human in the loop. They're going to take the soul energy and instead of letting it move on, they're going to force it into a loop. This loop is what powers the new grid, right? They take your consciousness and they put it into the quantum cloud, the one specifically that Google has. It's definitely Google, I promise you,
I
right?
don't think they can actually take your soul though and
Well, hold
upload it.
on a
I think it's
second.
just a copy of it.
Force. This is a structured space. I would love to get your take, but if you, we're going to open up for comments and questions in just a second. But welcome. Thank you for coming up. Just give it a second. And then we'll
He's not wrong.
well,
Yeah.
well,
Like,
so I just wanted to also highlight something. Just so you guys know, I will never think you're crazy, even though it sounds far-fetched, but obviously they're using theology just to even name these things, like Luciferase, for example. Luciferin is another one. There's all types of that's just one of many, by the way. Okay, there's absolutely 100% a conscious decision to name it that, knowing that that was, kind of the light bearer, right? Like there's so many other things they could have named it, by the way, like that represent light, okay? But they decided to name it that. That's no accident. The patent that Microsoft had, I think, for the mining for human body activity data was ended with 060606. And it's just quite fascinating when you put all these things together. There's definitely some sort of signaling to this being theological based, and it's whether or not, I mean, they probably don't expect the average person to go through, but I think that even those names are serving as sigils to a degree. If right,
they
like
are.
there's something, there's a reason for that. And I so don't think that I'm ever thinking that you're crazy. I 100% have been down this path, not to the degree that you guys have been, but I was also stunned and surprised by many of examples of that. So
Well, it's important to also note that the reagents that they're using is called Luciferase 666. I You can check that post, click that link, right? They actually have a series of luciferase reagents 666. They have one for the quantum, right? That's for the soul, right? Or at least what they are representing as that. But like May said, I'm telling you right now, this is more like there is definitely theology behind it because there's a reason why when they connect your consciousness, right? They're connecting it to the river Styx. It's literally called Styx. That's not even made up. That's literally the network that they're using, right? And they use Charon, right, which is a program that's ran by AI that takes large amounts of data, right? And its job is to move it to the cloud. So a while ago, I posted this thing about consciousness connection, right? And how they would have to do it. They would have to first quantify it, right? And they would have to use a model, right? That they would think that would give them the best results. So they're using a series of models. They're going to try each one. That's anyways their plan. It's trial by error.
Well,
And it's
so just so you guys also just to kind of help maybe piece this together. This is about like a networked embodied subconscious that that's where like even young Carl Jung, he like this is where he fits all his archetypes. Like think of so when you're thinking of like a biohybrid computing system, think of it as at a global scale, and I would so much just say an interdimensional scaling. And so that's where the quantum piece comes into it. And this is also rants, token engineering and gaming mechanics and frequencies are that's what interfaces with the nanotechnology. And like I said before, we're swimming in it. And so all of this becomes a part of the networked embodied consciousness. Now, the biology is such a fascinating processing system. It already does that on its own. And that's where the topological piece comes in because it's used as a constellation and it hosts all of our microbial systems, both inside and outside of us, in our gut, the little parasites that'd be chilling on your eyelashes that you don't see. Like all of these things that are sensing at the local level. That is what gets kind of looped into the networked distributed cognition. All of the, like, we're just agents that are kind of just spread out, experiencing different things and conditions. And our sensing is our innate biology. And all of the companion beings that the microbials, the bacteria that hang out in us and on us, with like, they will either enhance or diminish our sensing capacity. They have already examined all of that. Like it's like that's I mean, it's wild. I remember thinking like how did they get to that point of being able to see what is able to increase and enhance our sensing and decrease our sensing and put more of something in our environment to do that because that is the communication vector. And I hope I'm not like I hope I'm explaining it well. I'm trying to kind of break it down into ways that like I've understood, and that's why I don't know. I just feel like that you guys are bringing forth all of the articles and the journals, the scientific. And by the way, I put it all in the nest, guys. If you don't mind, I think it'd be a huge service and a token of appreciation to our guests to be able to share all of the stuff the work that they put into this, and making sure that that's how we give our currency within the app is sharing their work. So this is what we'll do. We're going to go to Ryan and, I know that you said you wanted to cover the whole B system. So we're going to give it back to them too, to kind of map that out. And then we'll open up to questions. We'll come to you, the force, and then we'll go to Atriyu. Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Maze. So Sal was talking about Charon, right, and Strong Swan, where he was talking about Chiron kind of moving the data along the river Styx, right? He's actually internet key exchange interface daemon or daemon, right? Whatever you call it in computer networking. So he's the one exchanging the internet keys across, routing it across the internet, the traffic across the internet, and just think of the data streams as the river Styx, right? But what I was gonna say is I'm gonna be brief. It's kind of not even on topic what you were just saying, Mace, but it was on topic with the theosophy, right? Like, I mean, the spiritual foundation of the United Nations is Lucifer's trust or Lucius trust. I mean, if you look at Lucius Trust, they're involved with the United Nations. They have the Goodwill program. They're deeply embedded. That's the religion that they follow. And it's the gamification and the token engineering and all this like leaderboards and all this. This is to get your participation, so you will give over your free will. When you turn it into a game, it becomes fun. It becomes competition. It becomes competitive, right? And then people get ingrained in that. I mean, just look at video games and how people get. It's almost like you become entrenched and entranced into it. It's almost like a spell, right? But I just want to say to everybody, we are in this world, but we are not of it, right? Because look at the state of this world. We are in it, but we are truly not of this. This is not the way it was intended to be when God created it. We're made in His image, and I think they are doing everything they can, down to the synthetic genomes, the synthetic chromosomes, the synthetic CRISPR engineering. All this synthetic biology is because they want to turn us from carbon into silicone. They want to break that connection to the Creator because they hate Him, and they want us to fall away from Him. So we have to do everything we can to stay human. At the end of the day, we push forward positive energy. Move forward with kindness and love in our hearts. Have empathy for human pain and suffering. Have a conversation, not a debate, not an argument. Just have a conversation with people. You don't have to agree. We're all unique individuals anyway. So if we all agreed on everything, life would be boring. We'd all be zombie robots if we agreed about everything, right? But when it comes to this stuff, we're not trying to convince anybody of anything. We're just trying to share stuff that we found that's open source on the internet. And, we feel that it's so critical that, humanity needs to know this, that, hey, here's the link, here's the information, go read it, sit with it, think about it, reflect on it, and come up with your own, conclusion. But please, don't just brush it off. Take the time to look into this because this has serious implications. This is about, life and death at the end of the day. So I would just say, yeah, man, it's a cold world out here, but you know what? There's a brighter future ahead if we all come together and unite and move forward with a positive mind, a positive heart, and just love each other. At the end of the day, we are the change. We have to make the change within before the change will happen. On the exterior, it all starts with you. It all starts in the home. And don't say, oh, well, I can't change nothing. I'm one person, because that's a cop out. It only takes one person to do something, and then the next person to do it, and the next person to do it. And then before you know it, the world has changed and it becomes a better place. So I love y'all.
Thanks, Ryan. That was well said. Like, honestly, change is as easy as starting with yourself, starting with the person in the mirror. Like, I started this like when the pandemic hit, because first off, I saw that everything I kind of suspected was real, and they were acting on it. And I don't expect anyone to ever believe me. In fact, I don't want anyone to ever just believe me. Just read it, make your own choice, enjoy the free will that we have, and exercise it. Remember, you can always say no. But thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Maze.
No, thank you. I really appreciate that because I understand how I struggle when I deliver information that I know may be received in ways that are heavy. Because that's the thing. I think with truth seeking, we don't anticipate the heaviness of that comes with the obligation and responsibility to share that information and help people understand it, right? Like it's something that I've struggled with myself. And then also because we're problem solvers by nature, not necessarily having those remediation pathways like a project plan is also hard. But what you just said is the all encompassing. It is really just, I think that people that, theology, it can be something that people use, I guess, to think about in the mind state, but there is a connection of sorts that when sought after, in my personal experience, it gets you past the gate of belief into like a knowing. And then I think that once, and maybe this is a catalyst that's going to push people into really truly having the connection and not allowing anything else to really get in the way, because that can't be programmed or deprogrammed. In my situation, I can't. Obviously we're talking about something that is more subjective, but anyway, I appreciate you adding that. And I do think that when we begin to treat each other with that same level of compassion and connection and love, it's so important. It is the cure. I mean, believe it or not, it's like, here you use all the fucking nanobots. Yeah, they're coming for you. And then it's like, but love each other. I know people are like, what the hell? But I really agree with you 100%. I do think that that is an incredibly powerful tool. So thank you for that. So we will open up for questions. I do really quickly want to. There was something that I wrote down that you'd said. I don't know where. I think I just typed it in somewhere in this like 10-page like document that I have. So I'm gonna go find it. But let's open up for questions. Let me just start with the co-host really quickly. Then we'll go to the Force, and then we'll go to a trio, and then we'll go to Game of Thrones. And we'll, I think we'll have more of these. That they were here before. Ryan and Sal came and they did a show with us before, and so we'll have more as they uncover stuff. But if you do have any questions, guys, come on up. But go ahead, the Force. Wait, my
Oh.
co-host. I'm such a retard. Okay, sorry. Destiny, Reyes, did you guys have anything that you guys wanted to ask first, and then we'll go to the Force? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I would love you to dumb it down for me like I'm a child and explain to me
My turn, huh?
how they communicate between the biological and the digital. If that's not a dumb question? I don't know. This is way over my head,
No,
so I'm
it's
trying
not
to
a
follow
dumb
you guys.
question at
But
all. That's an excellent question. It's absolutely an excellent
perfect.
question. And I will tell you, Sabrina, what's her name? Sabrina, oh my God. It's
Wallace.
Yes. So I swear, I would try so hard to really understand what she was talking about. And it took a minute. It did kind of go over my head, but our body, our bio, and if somebody else feels more qualified to do this, then please do. I'll let you guys, but our body, it's called, it's a field. It's like, what does she call it, Destiny? It's called the
Biodigital convergence.
yeah, and biodigital convergence, but they are capable of being able to, and by the way, everything that they explained with the whole bacteria and all that, that's programmable, and being able to inject things. So biosemiotics, let me explain this. This is the part that I feel comfortable explaining, and I don't like to explain things that my understanding is still, let's just say, in the elementary phase. But what I do understand is how biosemiotics works. And that's the way that our body talks to the environment. Like there's signals in which is not necessarily processed in your, prefrontal cortex, but there's communication, obviously, like that would help your body know to adjust or prepare for something. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like with nature, there's things that will signal something to you that you're not necessarily thinking about, but it will kick off a process for your body to do something in order to prepare. Even when it comes to immune system, like when your immune system is triggered, it's because you inhaled something that, automatically just sends this sequence of events to your body. And then your body will begin to kind of create antibodies to help you prepare and to fight that off, right? So biosemiotics is what is being leveraged with their technology in order to be able to inject it. And I think Ryan has his hand up. I'm going to go to him and let him break it down to you a little bit better. But go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try to do like a brief layout of what Rich asked, like how they're bridging the biological and the digital, right? So and like do it in a way that's like not all technical, right? So have you heard of the quantum Internet of Things, or just the Internet of Things? Right, you know what that is, correct? And do you know what the Internet of Bio Nano Things is, Rance?
no, I don't.
Okay, so the Internet of Nano things is basically all of these nanoparticles and bacteria that they're putting in, like, bioactive materials, essentially, that they're putting in vaccines and the food and the water, and they're able to
Yep.
be
Okay, I'm
programmed.
following you on that.
They're
How do
able
they
to
communicate out of that?
they're able to be programmed remotely through external frequencies, right? So let me go through this here. So the quantum Internet of Things and the Internet of Nano things are being bridged together for the ability to scale, process, and route the quantum imaging data that's being captured from inside the biological entity. Here's how. The Internet of Nano things as the biological target. The Internet of Nano things is a framework where biological cells are engineered as nanoscale computing devices. They communicate using biological signals like DNA, proteins, or calcium waves, and electromagnetic/optical waves. Biophotons as data packets. In an IOBNT ecosystem, biophotons are no longer treated as random metabolic waste. They function as intentional optical carriers of cellular data. The living interface. Your biological target is now an active node in a network. The IOBNT provides a structured grid of cells that emit, modulate, or react to the biophotonic signals you wish to image. The quantum Internet of Things as the quantum backbone. The quantum Internet of Things connects smart devices using quantum mechanics, ensuring ultra-secure communication and high-precise distributed sensing. Routing the entangled photon pairs. Your sunlight-pumped metamaterial generates entangled photon pairs. The quantum Internet of Things is the infrastructure that routes these fragile quantum states. It uses quantum repeaters and memory to send one photon of the pair to the IOBNT biological node while routing the twin photons securely to a remote quantum processor. Digital distributed ghost imaging. Instead of a single camera imaging a single subject, the quantum Internet of Things enables distributed broadband ghost imaging. Nanoscale quantum sensors embedded throughout an environment can cooperatively reconstruct the image of the biophotonic field across a vast network, bridging
All
the
right,
gap.
can I
Yeah.
pause you there, and can I repeat back sort of what I think I heard before we go any farther, so I make sure that I'm on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. So your body's communicating through the proteins, right? You produce a photon, which is a light measurable in fraction, right? And then your devices are measuring and communicating back and forth through a light structure that then controls and informs or dictates the proteins that affect the nanobots.
Boom. Yeah, exactly, bro. I mean, you
All
couldn't
right,
put it.
I was just wanting to make sure because I'm a simple person. You know what I mean? I gotta understand this shit like a child.
My bad, man. I don't mean to be so technical. I
No, I
figured this
love
was
it. Don't be sorry, bro. This is
No,
how we learn.
I do this to him all the time. He talks politics about assemblies and caucuses, and I'm like, what the hell does any of that even mean? You know what I'm saying? So like now and he breaks it down to me like I'm 3, and I love him for it. And so you are welcome to do that anytime, Rants. I will say that you might find this interesting if you look up in the nest. One of UC's Sal's posts talks about the zero carbon system. And so there's a scientific journal there by the National Institute of Environmental Health Science, where it explains that the mission of this institute is to discover how the environment affects people, right? In order to promote healthier lives. A lot of the stuff is packaged in wellness programs. Wellness this, wellness that. I mean, there's in fact a whole, like, this is kind of one of the key words that's used and propagated across all the documentation. And just so you know, that the science of how the environment affects you and talks to your biology, that is what they're leveraging as the medium in order to be able to tell your body things that's not necessarily like something that your mind is processing. Go, Des, girl, you ain't gotta raise your hand. Just cut me off. Just this is your.
No, I have a question. I just want to ask you because I heard, but I was like, wait, did you say the National Institutes of Environmental Health Sciences? Is that what you said?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
NIEHS.
I thought you did. I just put this in the purple pill. I did a thread on this back in 2023 about the NIEHS, and nobody gave a shit about that fucking thread. But the NIEHS, oddly enough, there's an anomaly. You know, I'm a big anomaly person. There's a massive anomaly when it comes to that particular institute, which is one of the 34 sub agencies under NIH, right? Now, it's the only one. This is what's fascinating. And I pegged onto it because of Triangle Park, which is an area in North Carolina that it hosts various universities, including like Duke and UNC Chapel Hill and Wake Forest, right? And between those three universities, that space between the three, there is the headquarters for many pharmaceutical giants and manufacturing hubs, including Resilience and Pfizer and Waith and all these other. They all have big plants down there, and they're all within the close proximity of the NIEHS. Now, the interesting thing is, of all of the 34 or 37 sub-agencies at NIH, there's only one that doesn't reside in the Maryland area, and that happens to be the NIEHS. Now, it's an anomaly because usually they like to compact these places all together, and it is interesting that the only one that does not exist in Maryland is in the Triangle Park area, which is, of course, you know, this is that whole dual use thing I was talking about earlier. This is how these things happen, and they start off looking so innocuous, and then you see the reverberation of the impact when they move into these facilities, and they have these then backdoor deals with the neighboring places, and they can make these great excuses for a various amounts of research that gets passed under the guise of health, right? And so, but right in the middle of like literally the heart of pharmaceutical America, which is Triangle Park. Yeah, very. I just wanted to make sure I heard you correctly. I was like, oh, because nobody talked about NIHS for the longest time, and I was like, yay! I just jumped on the opportunity to talk about it.
Yeah, girl, thank you for adding that. Yeah, I was reading it directly off of his post. I also want to say that Kev Tex, thank you so much. He posted something where he was talking about nanogrid alpha, which is mapping the invisible domain, smart dust, graphene interfaces, AI mind loops, Internet of Bodies. And he put, this is more than a system, it's a silent dominion forming under your skin. And then it turns into this really informative thread. It is phenomenal. I'm liking it and I'm following you back, sir. Thank you. I will put this thread up in the nest so that you guys, I think you guys might have found another person that's really into this research that you might be able to partner with. But I did put that up in the nest. And thank you, Des. Okay, so let's go to the. Go ahead.
When you get through these hands, do you think I could finish up what I was going through? I'm about 80% done, but
Oh,
I
no,
can
I
stop.
didn't know you weren't done. Go. This is all about you. Go ahead, and then we'll go to the force right
No,
after.
because Rance had asked a question as I was going, and I just wanted him so he was on page. But I'm almost done. It's not going to be much longer. Maybe like another 5 minutes, if that's cool.
Bro, take as much time as you need. Of course, go.
So I left off after the distributed ghost imaging. The next part is bridging the gap, the bio-cyber quantum interface. Now, I know you guys have heard of the bio-cyber interface, but it's the bio-cyber quantum interface because quantum is a key component in this. So the biggest technical hurdle is translating biological signals into quantum states. To bridge the quantum Internet of Things and the Internet of Bio-Nano Things, you need a specialized bio-cyber quantum interface. This hardware acts as a bidirectional translator, converting faint chaotic biological light, biophotons, into organized quantum data packets and routing them safely into fiber or free space quantum networks. Okay, the biocompatible capture layer. This is the physical surface where the artificial device touches living tissue. It must capture biophotons without triggering in a nanometer graphene grids. High conductive graphene and related materials line the surface. Graphene acts as a transparent, biocompatible electrode that can guide biophotons towards the sensor elements without scattering them. Targeted molecular anchors. The interface surface is functionalized with specific proteins or synthetic DNA aptamers. These anchors bind directly to cell membranes, locking the Internet of Bio-Nanothing nodes, cells, perfectly flush against the quantum sensors to maximize light collection efficiency. Integrated microfluidics. Microscopic channels route cellular nutrients and maintain a steady environment, keeping the biological sample alive directly on top of the solid state quantum hardware. Plasmonic nanoantennas. Arrays of gold or silicon nanorods act as antennas to collect light. They create intense localized electromagnetic fields, hotspots, that capture the ultra weak biophotons and guide them directly into the conversion zone. 2D nonlinear space slash time crystals.
Yo, Ryan, let me just interrupt you for one
Yeah, go
second.
ahead.
What he just read right now is the process of the soul reversal. Keep going, Ryan.
All right. 2D nonlinear space slash time crystals. Monolayers of transition metal dialkylogenides. I can't say that word. They're TMDs for short. Like WS2 or MOS2 perform the spontaneous paramedic down conversion. The sunlight pump continuously feeds this layer with energy. When a biophoton arrives, the metamaterial uses a process called frequency up conversion or some frequency generation. It merges the weak chaotic biophoton with the high energy sunlight photon, transforming it into a clean, readily detectable quantum state. Dynamic phase matching. I'm almost done, guys. Sorry. Because biophotons have a broad spectrum, the metamaterial dynamically shifts its optical properties in real times, acting as a time crystal to maintain a phase matching across a wide range of wavelengths. So basically synchronizing to your biosignals, right? Uh, the quantum routing and detection layer, the quantum Internet of Things node. After the metamaterial has matched the biological signal to an entangled photon pair, the data must be read and routed through the quantum of Internet of Things network. Superconducting nanowire single photon detectors. These ultra-sensitive detectors are built directly beneath the metamaterial layer. They feature a near 100% quantum efficiency, meaning they can count individual photons with practically zero false alarms, dark counts. Nitrogen vacancy diamond centers. Nanodiamonds with nitrogen vacancy centers are embedded right alongside the biological interface. They act as local quantum memory buffers. If the quantum Internet of Things network is busy, the quantum state of the captured photon can be stored inside the electron spin of the nitrogen vacancy center until a quantum routing path opens up. On-chip waveguides. Integrated silicon nitride Si3N4 photonic circuits act as microscopic fiber optic cables on top of the chip, splitting the entangled signal and idler photons. One photon is deployed to interact with the Internet of Bio-Nano Things cell matrix, while its entangled twin is funneled towards the external quantum Internet of Things network for remote ghost image processing. I'll just land it there. You got quantum.
That's the soul,
Yeah,
right? That's the soul he's talking about.
yeah. You got
So,
metamaterial nodes and quantum biosensing, but I'm just gonna land it there. Go ahead, Sal.
dude, that was amazingly said. And if you can, please send me that. I love the organization, dude. It's amazing because what you just described is exactly how they take the soul, right? Your light, right? They determined a while ago that the soul, right, is just an assortment of electromagnetic radiation, right? Radiant energy, which is photon packets, right? That's why the infernal grid runs as a package management system. So it's by ARPA. Like what he just described, I'm so glad this is being recorded because he broke it down elegantly. So they entangled the photon, right? Your light, right? Your essence, your soul. What they think, anyways, is your soul. then they entangle it and they route it and they digitize it so they can guide your photon anyways, not the one that they entangled it with, to the quantum cloud. This is how they transfer you into their system. So well said, dude. Wow.
Well, Rance, hopefully that helped. And yeah, I am super glad that this is recorded. And that's why everybody should repost this space. Make sure you have it on your timeline so that people will be able to listen to the replay. We're going to open up for questions. And just so you guys know, I do have a hard stop at 8. We're going to try to, get all of the questions that we can in between now and then, though. And so the Force, thank you so much for being patient. Go ahead. Do you have a question or a comment?
Oh yeah, thank you so much, Maze. Thank you so much. Great, excellent space, by the way. Yeah, the title is what drew me to it. I mean, listen, that title right there. If you show that to about, if you line up 10,000 people and you show that title to them, how many of those people do you think are going to say you're a nutcase? Get away from me. Okay, most of them. But the title is perfect. It's exactly correct. Everything that's been said tonight by like every guest has been like right, exactly on point, including the host, Maze, Destiny, of course. And Destiny has an interesting role in all this because what I posted is a video that starts with Elon Musk, right? And somebody mentioned Bill Gates, and he funds that company Lucifer Fust, or what the hell is it called? Lucifer Fund, Lucis Trust. Okay, it's literally an official spiritual consultant to the United Nations, right? So I have a very logical mind. I always ask myself, in any case, right, whether it's a crime or whether it's just in general, right, who runs it, and where do they get their intelligence from to run it? Those are the two most important things. So in the case of Earth right now, planet Earth, our world that we all are in, pretty cool world, beautiful world, but we don't got nice people running it. They're Satanists, unfortunately. They're open Satanists. And so I look at who has the most money. Well, who bailed out the Bank of England in 1825? That's the Rothschild family, right? They're Eastern European. These aren't like, and when you talk to Christians about them, okay, because I grew up in kind of a Christian Zionist community, these aren't like the Jews that God got out of Moses. I love like guys like Max Blumenthal. Look at that guy, one of the most legendary anti-Zionist Jews in the world. That's why I got on, like Dan Bilzerian just DM'd me the other night. Like he's asking me, well, the thing about Dan Bilzerian, that's why I posted this video. So I'm DMing him. I'm like, dude, you answered the question properly. Okay. It's because he was on TMZ and they were trying to accuse him.
Is this related to what we're talking about? No, I just
dude, okay. Yeah, dude. I am so sorry. Yeah. I got way off track there. Okay. Let's get back to this because it all ties back. So Bill Gates funds, how's that? Lucis Trust. All right.
Lucifer.
Yes. So this is where they get.
Yeah.
So there's that. All right. So the important timeline here. Right. This is why I think part of this ties into somebody who's talking about rituals. 2 words here that stick out: rituals and graphene. Those are 2 important words, right? 666. I believe that's like the bio code for graphene. I don't know if somebody can confirm that for me, but it's like the code for carbon or something like that, or some weird form of it. Anyways.
It's because carbon is the 6th molecule in the periodic element table, and so graphene being the thinnest form, a 3-dimensional form.
Well, the brilliant Destiny, the lovely brilliant Destiny, just answered that for you. So there you go. And that's okay. This kind of ties to the Bible. We see a lot of that going on. All right, we have to ask, why late 2019 did Jacob Rothschild pose with a very famous satanic spirit cooking, demon summoning witch, Marina Abramovich, in front of a painting called "Satan Summoning His Legions"? All right, we have to ask ourselves, is that like a flex on us? And he's got his head tilted. They always got that crook. You'll know, like Nat's got it a little bit too. And listen, Nat, honestly, and I hope Nat, turns this sucker around and becomes a good dude. Come to the light side of the force, brother. All right, dark side's over. Destiny exposed you in one tweet, and I'll explain that in about a few minutes. This is where it leads to. So anyways, you have these people, right? And by the way, in that painting, there's Lucifer, right, with his hand up. Bill Gates funds that fund, right? This is where they're getting their intel from. And by the way, Lucifer he's nude, and he's got his wiener right near Rothschild's head, and he's letting you know that's who he really serves. All right, so it's not. It shouldn't really be a flex. It's kind of he's showing you who he serves. Really, is what that painting, is what that photo really portrayed. But so getting back to the point, so who funds it? It's all of them, right? So all the big money funds it. They bailed out the Bank of England in 1825, took over Britain, installed the Federal Reserve in 1913, took over USA. They fund everything. They run everything. Now we already know from the Epstein files Epstein said, I represent the Rothschilds, right? Every scientific organization, education, scientific paper organization is tied to Maxwell, and all these organizations, they run it. This group runs it all, the Rothschilds. And so you have to wonder, okay, so 2019, right? What happened then? That was COVID-19. When did it come out? I believe September 11th, right? This is an important date for these people that don't really like Jesus too much. He's my boy, Lord, King, everything, right? They know this. That's why they don't like him too much. So they do rituals on 9/11 a lot because they don't really like him. Now, why do I think that? A couple reasons. Well, on September 12th, and this ties, by the way, to the shots. It's going to tie into the injections, right? This graphene, all right, this all ties to graphene, right? How graphene responds to 5G, 6G, what's going on with that? Now, I'm not saying I'm an expert on that, but I do believe there's a connection, right? What can they activate with that? I've seen some scientific papers on that. I don't know if people can validate it, but that's what I'm concerned with, is that the injecting of this graphene, and just was COVID-19's an operation to inject everyone with some kind of raw form of graphene. Now, can they successfully manipulate that to manipulate people's minds? I don't really know. It's almost like, remember Star Wars, where he's like, oh, he can manipulate weak people's minds.
Just so you know, I just want you to be a little time conscious, and I also want to kind of, and separating like and parsing out what you know as fact and versus like things to speculate upon, which are reasonable based on what we do know.
Okay, well, let me start going with
for these spaces. I'm not like
100%.
Yeah, but go ahead.
No, I'm going to lead up. I'm going to lead up right now. I'm going to give you a timeline starting in 2010 and lead up to that photo in 2019 and tie this all together. So in 2012, actually, all right, we have an email from Nathan Wolf, a virologist, all right, from him to Jeffrey Epstein, his best buddy, saying, "Hey, meet up to plot?" ? And I have the reference number for that. You can look it up. And then the next year, he's working with Wuhan Bat Lady, all right? She's collecting bat viruses out in China for Ralph Barrick to then manipulate, which he did 2015. They came out with a paper, flexed on us, said, hey, we did it. Created the world's first chimeric bat coronavirus. All right. So that's 2015. They have the basically the backbone for COVID-19, right? The next few years, they're kind of tuning it up, souping it up a little bit more. 2018, you have the head of EcoHealth, Peter Daszak, submit to DARPA a proposal to create the exact virus that is COVID-19. Next year, 2019. Now, by the way, DARPA publicly refused, but what we learned from a great article from unheard.com is that she could, Wuhan Bat Lady, she's part of this, I think, Rothschild kind of group. They're all in on it with China, but she continued that, I believe. Ralph Barrick or somebody sent her the sequence for it. They got it out there, started in Wuhan. September 12th, Wuhan lab shuts down, or they delete all their sequences. That's why I think they released it September 11th, all right? So Wuhan lab, September 12th, 2019, Wuhan lab goes under military lockdown. This is what the former CDC director Robert Redfield was talking about. He's like, yeah, of course it came out September 2019. Everyone knows it. And he's like, because they shut down, they went under military lockdown. Boom, that's when it started. All right. So now September 4th, that's when Elon Musk, his girlfriend, had that music video. She's wearing a COVID mask. This is like 7 days before that. She's like saying like, oh, they're gonna, she's like touching her heart like she got myocarditis. She came out with this.
All
she
right,
released.
of course, I'm so sorry. If you could kind of again be
yes.
conscious.
So okay. Oh yeah. So 2019, and then by the way, so Bill Gates, Bill Gates featured that Marina Abramovich in that commercial. She's wearing like a VR headset on Good Friday, right? That was like to try to like mock Jesus in 2020, and then he came out with that patent 2026 a month before that in March 2020. So this is all kind of it's like a ritual for these people. But yeah, it just goes into they're trying to inject graphene. Can it actually work? Can it change people's minds? I think strong people can't be affected by this crap, honestly. I'm not extremely concerned. What I'm more concerned about is honestly just ending the Federal Reserve and decoupling from the Bank for International Settlements. So.
All right. Well, thank you, The Force. I appreciate you. Definitely seems like you have a lot of information on this, and it was all trying to find its way into a small amount of time. So thank you for doing that. Go ahead, Atriyu.
Hey, thank you for the microphone, and man, Forrest, I was hoping there was one line I was hoping to hear, and that considering the subject is that there is an energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us and penetrates us and binds the galaxy together. And as a fellow Force user, man, the thought of anybody trying to get in the way of our God-given ability to experience life that way is is tyranny, man. I mean, that's like a slow and giant enslavement of people, and we can't let it happen. So to the other speakers is like, yeah, man, you can tell me the technicalities of it, and all, I can believe you, and man, that's tragic to think that those capabilities are being developed and implemented. And I wish UC was still in the chat, because my question would have been is like, okay, so and I suppose to Ryan's still in the chat.
His phone died,
Like,
just so you guys know. He's driving and his phone died. He wanted to let you guys know that he's sorry, and much love to everyone. And if he can get in before you guys shut it down, he will pop back in.
Thank
okay,
you.
perfect. So yeah, I have a tendency to like when the conversations are like, hey, this happened in the past, and this and this and this, and this is what's like. I like to try to get myself into the future where we've solved this problem and have not let it happen. So sometimes I take a little bit of like, geez, when people get on and say, hey, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this. And I'm like, well, fuck not if we don't let them, but we need ideas. So, so I would have been asking is like, what can we do to disrupt this process? And maybe it's okay if you don't have any answers, but that's the thing that I'm like, okay, so they're trying to implement all this horrific kind of tech on us. Like, what can we do to disrupt it, on a physical level? But then then my big zoom out.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I have in 2 minutes, when you're done talking, when you want me to, in 2 minutes, I'll explain my solution for it. And if you agree.
Well, unfortunately, I have a hard stop, and I wish.
No worries at all.
But I think it is fair to ask the question, and ultimately, we're trying to really understand the problem. This is where all the research is coming in, and understanding the way in which it's going and how it impacts us. I mean, there's people that have done lots of research on how to rid yourself of a lot of the metals and the things that we're inhaling and eating. And like, I use active carbon, I use zeolite, and it does for me personally speaking, it makes an incredible it's like, look, I've will tell you, there was times where I would literally walk into a room and forget what the hell I went in that room for, went back and then remembered, then went back in there and forgot again. Like, I had like brain fog. I mean, so there are things that can help in the process. As we become aware, we can find things to be able to help ourselves, and I guess feel better, and not necessarily be subjected to some of the things that is, as what do you call it, a side effect. But yeah, it's a huge question, right? So I don't know that
Maze, I'm so sorry to interrupt. I gotta run. So I was gonna in 2 minutes, I was gonna get my last just thoughts. I wanted to tie up my thing together.
He's not done. Okay.
I'm so sorry.
It's
okay.
Were you done with it? Was that all you want? Are you done?
Oh, no. Well, thanks. No, I just wanted to put that kind of into our public zeitgeist there, is to just, always try to, get into the solutions and also if I were to zoom out again in the overall thing that I think so many people would agree on is that there is just, no matter what, there is a severe amount of distrust in the medical field, and rightly so. However, but I'd say, if I had to put a bulletin board, it'd be like, kind of high up there, is that, man, like, we're in danger because we don't have any trust in the medical field, and we got to do things to restore that trust, and of course that's such a big task, right? Because
I actually feel like the people that are going to medical school, they're learning. It's the institution. It's the entire institution that is being kind of, this is not like, it's a very deep system, and it's crazy because they're provided with the, information. These are students that learn to become doctors, and that's what's crazy, is that I do think that this type of sharing of information would be able to penetrate that level, because there are people that do wake up within those communities, within, that profession, and those profession scientists. And I do think that that's obviously how, many of them, what was her name, Madej? I mean, there's plenty of them that are actively combating this. But I appreciate you bringing that up, because that kind of gave me the idea that I think that it's just, being able to share the information, especially in these platforms. But go ahead.
Yeah, and it's just like here we are in a very niche thing that's not going to make a lot of sense to a lot of people, but just the overall statement of like, we don't trust the medical profession, and these institutions are running up the score on us against our will, and that sort of sentiment is happening all over society, and in a whole bunch of different avenues, and I kind of lean towards like, man, so how do we go about just like deplatforming these institutions, and I don't expect to find a solution within the space, but I think sometimes when we say they are going to do this to you, they're going to do this to you, like something about just that little bit of extra energetic like attitude, like also kind of could accidentally like breed some like some acceptance of it,
No, I
and
feel you. I feel
in
you.
which case I
Yeah,
just,
I mean, I think it's
I'm just
what
like, hey man, it ain't gonna happen.
go ahead.
Oh,
Um,
Well, I feel you on
and
that.
sorry,
What
and then
I'm
just
saying is that
yeah,
I think we're
yeah.
presenting. So let me just explain mind snacks for everyone that's not familiar with it. This is like a lot of times where we bring in specific topics, and then the subject matter experts or researchers, and then we kind of break it down. Typically, I have spaces where we get into kind of more of the, like, what do you call it? I don't know. I mean, I get being conscious and whatnot, but these are things that are being worked on and developed on. And I don't think that they specifically said is happening to you, but it is something that is in the environment that you can maybe help mitigate in the meantime. But it is just sharing research. So that's kind of the objective of the space. And then, that's why, but I agree with the energetic commitment with those words. So thank you for that. But okay, so we have about 10 more minutes for questions, and then we'll kind of get closing thoughts. So if is there anything else that you have?
I, I've got 15 seconds,
Okay.
and it's for Maze. It's for you and Destiny. Destiny, especially, I sent you a DM, and I hope that you get in there about it, because aside from all this, when it comes to deplatforming and when it comes to information about Butler, I got a huge puzzle piece, and I really need somebody to start engaging me on that. And that's all I have to say about that. Thank you very much for hosting the space.
Thank you, Trio. I
I will
appreciate you.
definitely check it. I'll check it. Don't worry, I'll get back to you.
All right. Okay, guys, go to Game of Thrones, and guys, try to keep it specific to like the questions or comments regarding the actual research. That would be great. I appreciate it. Go ahead,
Thank
Game of
you,
Thrones.
dear man. Thank you. Uh, Phenomenal. A lot of stuff would go over most people's heads. I had a med tech background in school, and that's like 50 years ago when I was in, that bent. I'll be 71 next month. It's really weird. Look at the purple pill. Everyone remembers Birx and Fauci. Well, they forgot about Dr. Scott Atlas, who wrote a book called The Plague Upon Our House. I don't know why you're laughing over there, but this is something that diabolically has been put forth as dogma that we're supposed to accept, and it's not even close. They hijacked the term messenger RNA. It's now modified RNA. It still shows an M there, but it's not at all the same thing. Messenger RNA is what's needed normally, and used by the body to dictate what comes next as far as meiosis, mitosis, whatever cell division or repair is necessary. But this bastardized crap called modified RNA is what's responsible for all of the COVID stand peril that we see, the deaths worldwide, the myocarditis, et cetera, et cetera. Do your research. Start small if you're wondering about this. But please, dear God, listen to the Holy Spirit within you, all right? Let it be your guide. Let that small, tiny voice and that gut feeling you have dictate your next moves. I want to thank everybody on this panel that brought this issue to light, but we need to be prayerful. I'd love anybody who wants to follow me. I'll follow you back if you're on Team God. If you're on, team manipulation and whatever, I don't want anything to do with you. I'm sorry. I am just at that point in my life. May's destiny is always you bring it to the table. Jenny, I see you below. I want to hear what you've got to say from a nurse's perspective. And
Thanks, Game of Thrones. Much love. Team God here. Go ahead, Jenny. Welcome. Thanks for coming on.
Oh, I want to say Atreyu, like one of my favorite movies of all time. Dune, question for you guys. Earlier in the talk, I loved listening the whole time. I'm actually here at work right now, so I'm kind of stepping out. Bacteriophage, will you review that? Is this all on the back of a bacteriophage? Is that how we are getting into that sort of substrate? And that's all my only question.
Well, yeah, what's happening is those bacteriophages can infect bacteria, and the bacteria's machinery is a replication factory for these modified phages, which have the modified RNA that Games was talking about packed inside of its capsid through DNA origami, protein origami, molecular origami, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to put a post down in there about the modified RNA Game of Thrones. You should check that out because this is all computationally done, right? I mean, why is synthetic biology open language a computer language? Because they are programming the synthetic biology that's inside of people through computers, through computer code. But yes, Jenny, they're using, when it comes to like the SARS-CoV, it falls on the back of reverse genetic systems, CRISPR technology, and bacteriophages as the nanoparticle platform.
Yeah, that's like one of the second most abundant, as bacteria, it's abundant, very abundant. And what's interesting is they look like little machines, right? So, I mean, they literally look like little computer machines. And we found them, I think, in the beginning in 1869. But it kind of, it doesn't do well for the simulation theory. And that's all I'm going to say in conspiracy theory land. Thank you guys so much for the informative space. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Jenny. Being nailed is away right now, but that's okay. I love you. I always love what you have to say. And Game, you're great up here as well. I wanted to chime in with something real quick before I get to the Force, because I know Force, your hand is up. But real quick, the idea that like bacteria might be utilized as a method, a vehicle, if you will, into integrating a system within the body. I don't think it's that crazy at all because most, hopefully, people know this. They utilize bacteria to make all sorts of things like medicines and vaccines. They've done this for years. In fact, some of the most successful vaccines have been made utilizing bacteria. So they've already established that this is a vector that worth pursuing because we already do that. The idea that they might be introducing these bacteria as a vehicle mechanism, similar to like how the nanolipid particle is a vehicle, it's not crazy at all. It's already applied science. But I just wanted to make that point real quick because it's just like with the viruses is why I have a big problem, and I think society is beginning to see a big problem with this as well, which is over antibiotic use. It's a huge problem. In fact, the European Union decided, I think it was they had a big global health meeting in, I think it was 2018, where they determined that that's the biggest threat to health is antimicrobial resistance, where we no longer have, there's currently diseases now that no longer have antibiotics that 20 years ago they would have had to eradicate. Now they can't because it's grown immune to these bacteria. So that's one of those huge problems, and I have with overusing bactericides or viricides, anything that gets rid of those too, because they are also extraordinarily useful to the body. Like, you mess up your own natural endogenous bacteria when you take in exogenous bacteria. And same thing with viruses. I don't know if people know this, your body's genome is 8% virus. So antivirals can be dangerous on a molecular level, depending on the route, method, and usage of whatever medicine or therapy they choose to use. But I just want to make that little point. But go ahead, Force, and then we have you're Mac.
Yeah, no, I
Go ahead.
apologize. Sorry, I was
Hijacked
kicked
your
out, and
space.
then when I came back, you were talking.
Yo, I'm gonna be quick too. I'm so sorry. I'm not gonna waste too much time. I'm gonna make this. I'm gonna try to make this like 2-3
Try to make
minutes. All
it
right.
like 1 minute if you don't
Oh,
mind. I
well,
appreciate
one
it,
minute.
Force.
Okay, you got it.
If
All right. So just to not. All right. So to tie in kind of the Musk thing too. All right. So Destiny is the only one I think on Twitter that I've seen with a post tying together the 2011 Epstein-funded Edge Billionaires dinner. And who was there? Nathan Wolf, the guy who headed the EcoHealth Global Virome Project, right, where Wuhan Bat Lady created the COVID virus 2018, 2019, released it on 9/11, 2019. Thanks a lot, you assholes. No, there you go. And then they try. Oh, by the way, the mRNA affects males under 40. Okay, that's what I am. This is what got me into this fight. Okay, that's you're trying to kill me, basically. All right, so you inject me with something that turns my body into an mRNA, a spike protein factory, free floating. Okay, this is the problem. People got to use this term more: free circulating, free floating spike protein. That's the type of spike protein that's getting into everyone's organs and staying there. And by the way, Alex Berenson had a great article. He's got one of the only articles on this. It affects the heart in the ways that the wild virus can't, which gets stuck in the nose, whatever the hell, wherever it enters, right? So there you go. Sorry. Thank you so much, Maze. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, The Force. And I think, the overall message today is to also, I know a lot of times we're brought up, it's kind of in our culture to trust, doctors and institutions. I just say question everything. I think we've given enough, not just pertaining to this space, but overall, there's obviously something incredibly wrong with our health institutions, our regulatory institutions that are supposed to put our best interest as the priority. That's how they popularized the public-private partnerships, and they've created a kind of this backdoor into the corporations, big pharma, into being able to have legislation really favor them, the corporations, over the people. So these are things that I think, as we continue to uncover, we find these problems, and there's going to be different ways in which we would be addressing it. So I just wanted to highlight that one too. And all right, so let's tap in with Destiny, and then we'll go to Ryan, and then we will wrap up. Thank you.
Well, no, MW's
Oh, I
had their
don't
hand
even
up for a
see
minute.
them up
I'll go ahead and go
here.
to them. I'll
I did
defer
see
for a minute.
them,
Yeah,
and then
I can wait.
but now they look like listener, but their hand is raised, which is interesting. Anyway, that happened after I got kicked out. But yeah, go ahead, Des.
Oh, so are they
Oh
not
wait,
there?
you had?
I'm here. I'm waiting.
Okay, go ahead, sweetie.
Let MW go. Okay. Hey, thanks. So I know you guys are cramped for time, and there's a lot that I wanted to touch upon. So I'll make it really brief. Someone asked earlier about the field around the body. In the 70s, we called it an aura. The person, Sabrina, that you were talking about, she calls it a biofield or the human biofield. It's an electromagnetic field around all of our bodies. So that answers that question. Rance asked a question about the data transfer, I think, and that is not directly connected to the luciferase, luciferase or luciferase, however you want to call it. That is a enzyme that's a reporter molecule that allows them to understand and know when there's an interaction between proteins. Now, this can be related to all of this because the interaction between proteins is the protein engineering is how I shared in the bubble. Protein engineering is used to create biosynthetic electronic devices because life is inherently electronic, and we're at a point with our technology where we can, we'll say, ring the bell with light, electrons, frequencies, and so on. And so
So we're using proteins to engineer these electronic devices, and then the luciferase lets them know when certain interactions have occurred. Um, I don't want to get crazy, but you could see the day where a spot on your hand goes from green to red or red to green when you pay a bill. Um, it's getting pretty crazy what they want to do. But anyway, and so they also about the development of COVID and this whole thing. A lot of people are not aware. This goes clear back. The thing with Luciferase goes back into 1999 to 2001. The idea of using these vaccines to do what they did with the pandemic actually began in some labs in Baxter labs in Ukraine in the early 2000s. But the part that is I really wanted to get a correction on, and I don't know why the Drastic didn't put this nice and tight in their presentation, but that is that a Project Adept started in 2012, and that was to create, as Destiny mentioned earlier, what they called animal reservoirs, where they put these pathogens in animals in reservoirs, and they did that throughout 2016 and 17. They went out to the planet and did this and affected everything from deer to chipmunks. Anyway, and so then in ADEPT in 2012, we created this concept, the 60 days to end a pandemic. Well, then in for the 2019, when they came up with that, just before that, what the other gentleman said is true. When ADEPT went to defuse, Defuse gave, and this happened to be right after Ralph Baric wrote the paper on Poised for Human Emergence with his Chimera. Well, what happened was Defuse was rejected and EcoHealth was rejected and they didn't get it. But here's what people don't seem to know, or a lot of people don't know, is that other companies got involved. Palo Alto Research Center, U.S. National Wildlife Center, Duke and U.S., a whole list of other entities joined with EcoHealth and Wuhan and DARPA, and they did what was called Project Preempt. So Defuse went to Preempt, and Preempt was fully funded. And Preempt was the combination of everything we just talked about and putting these vaccines into people for a variety of reasons. One of the main reasons of COVID happening and when it did and the way it did was as a behavioral modification. It works in a couple different ways, but I know I'm running out of time here. So I just leave it at that. And so I just want to add some corrections on a couple of things. And I hope we guys do another space on this because I'd like to get in on early. I have a lot to offer and a lot of research. And thank you guys. And it's nice to see you again, Destiny and Maze.
Yeah, maybe we could kick one off. Des, if you want to, you want to schedule something we can do this week and carve out some more time.
Yeah, because he brought up something that's so important. Like, I get a lot of praise for my resilience story, but the initial resilience story, as fantastic as it was, and it is a fantastic story. I will stand by that till I die. It's a fantastic story. But the far bigger picture involves what you just mentioned, which is the Baxter Laboratory incident. The Baxter Laboratory incident it is resilience. That's the same company.
Dr.
And
Joseph
nobody,
Most, right?
it took me years to accumulate the data to make it proven without a shadow of a doubt. And I have all the documents that trace that entire corporation, all their interests into how it became a shell company ran by Peter Thiel, who, of course, he's heavily connected in this transhuman movement. Right. And resilience is the cornerstone of all of it. And I would love to have a space where we could talk about this like convergence, because resilience plays a huge factor. People don't understand because they changed the name of the company, but it's the same company. But if they knew the prior company and what resilience is, which is nanotherapeutics, if people had made that understanding that they had the second largest contract in medical history making those COVID vaccines. They made the COVID vaccines, a company that Ray Kurzweil himself said in The Singularity is Near that he saw just one company that would complete the biodivergence between mankind and computers. And he listed one company, nanotherapeutics, which is resilience today. And they got their vaccine platform from Baxter International in 2014, 5 years after they had a massive incident that caused the 2009 swine flu pandemic. It's insane. And I've published a story one of these days I will win a Pulitzer for it. One of these days I will, because it is so critical to know that this is all concocted by the United States Army and the CIA, down to the bones. That is who is behind it. And Palantir employees like Joe Lonsdale and Peter Thiel himself are also instrumental in this. And
Spot
when
on.
people figure it out, when they, go read it, go read it. But it's
Destiny, you
more
are
real
right on the
than we could
money.
ever
I
imagine.
love it. You are so on the money, and Fort Detrick is also in on that. And you just nailed it. You just nailed it. And these guys, it's also connected to Peter Thiel with crypto and tokenization, and that's what Dr. Zelenko tried to warn us about with not taking the shot in the very beginning. It all ties together. Thank you, Destiny. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, man, she is a G, okay? That's why I'm absolutely honored to have her here, especially around this stuff. This is her wheelhouse, and we're going to plan something whenever, actually at your convenience. Does you just let me know where we can talk about all of those connections, and we'll definitely send you the invite, MW. And I apologize
Thank
profusely for
you.
those that wanted to speak and we ran out of time today. It was packed with information though, and I hope that you do make it to the follow-up space where we break down some of this other stuff in the Peter Thiel, and because these people are actively involved in using a lot of their money to push a lot of these projects forward. So that's why I think that,
And 18 former Palantir employees work in our government right
fact.
now. That's concerning right there, just because that connection and that kind of pull. The Office of Science Technology Policy is his former chief of staff for a decade. Okay, like that's the whole science sector of our government, and technology is covered by his fucking guy. This should be a big concern when he's involved in anything.
Agreed. I thought, go ahead, Ryan.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, like with Peter Thiel and Palantir. I don't know if you guys have seen, but like a month ago, Palantir and Google Cloud partnership together, where Palantir's software is going to be connected to Google Cloud's data tools. So they're going to be working together. The artificial intelligence platform from Palantir on Google Cloud with the data tools. I mean, that right there, if that doesn't tell you the B system is merged together, I don't know what else would, right? But on bacteriophages, guys, one school that plays a big role is the Catholic University of America in Washington D.C. or just Washington if you look at Google Maps, right? But yeah, it's the Bacteriophage Medical Research Center. So if you want to look into the bacteriophages that we were talking about today, I would start there. That's the Catholic University of America, and it's Bacteriophage Medical Research Center. And I'll end with that, guys. So thank you so much, Mace, for having me and Sal up here tonight. MW, Destiny, Rants, Forge, a lot of great speakers. We definitely need to do this more often, guys, even if it's not just on, this topic specifically. I just think we have great conversations, and we learn a lot of stuff that's new. I mean, it's just great to be with like-minded individuals who are intelligent, who are open-minded, who are willing to learn and critically think and expand their mind, and just grow together, as a unit, as humanity. So thank you, guys.
Well, thank you. I hope everybody in this space follows Ryan. And also, if you look in the nest, you're going to see UC Workroom. That's Sal. Make sure that you guys are following them and that you're sharing their work. And you can definitely, I'm pretty sure any of these spaces that we have, feel free to come up. If you write down your questions, you can ask them. And they're very responsive. Anytime I've seen anybody comment under their posts, they're extremely responsive. So, but yeah, follow and show support, especially to both of them, and as well as my lovely co-host Destiny and Rants. And
I'm not responsive.
she's not responsive. Well, to her posts, she's about 50% more responsive. Her DMs, forget about it. It's like you might as well play the lottery, okay? And that day, if you win, she'll hit you back. No, but also follow all the other speakers up here. And so there's no next Monday, just so you guys know. I have set up a space we're going to do Mind Snacks with Austin and with Michael Corey, and they're going to talk about this quantum, this new quantum solution that they've actually, like, he's been off the app for almost 2 years now, putting a lot of work into trying to solve some of the major problems that we've uncovered in the past, I don't know, a few years during as we're watching everything crash and burn. And it was very interesting. Me and Des went in their space last night and asked them if they would come. And so Monday, and I think that you guys you guys are gonna love it. That's definitely a Mind Snacks. It's going to be one of the best. I can feel it coming because it's very fascinating the way that they are looking at the solution and how people interact around it being decentralized. And it's so fascinating. I can't wait to share it with you guys. But thank you so much for coming, and I appreciate you all. And I will catch you guys next time.